So welcome to the Teesside University Student Union podcast. I am once again joined by our presidents elected. Here they are. Would you like to introduce yourself? We'll start with you, Blessing.
Hi everyone, my name is Blessing and I am the current president of Wellbeing.
Hello, myself Chikatla. I'm President Education.
Hello, my name is Ebubechi and I'm President International.
Fantastic. Well, you seem to be very comfortable these days with your seating. Is everything going all right? We are into the academic year now, aren't we? We're into October. But before we get into what's coming up, we need to talk about what's just happened. So the start of every academic year, we have the freshers, don't we? And so the university is populated with loads of brand new students, and it's always an exciting time of year to be on campus, to be a member of staff here, but also to be either a president or to be another student, to see all this new energy that kind of comes onto campus. So how was freshers for you guys? I know how it was for me, but more importantly, how was it for you guys and how was it for the students? What do we think? What did you get up to in freshers? What kind of happened? Take it away, my friends.
It's been really busy. It's been fun. I mean, we've got to meet loads of students. Some looking really excited, some of them nervous, some of them anxious, mixed emotions.
You do get that deer in the headlights with some, don't you, where they're a bit like Bambi. They're wandering around a bit uncertain of what to do, especially with some of the younger people or people who've travelled a little bit further afield. So I totally get that.
Yeah, there's been a couple of them. We've kind of had to stop them and be like, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" But it's been lovely. Everyone's been nice, and we've also had to do a couple of induction talks as well. So we've had a chance to kind of go on campus, introduce ourselves, let students know what the SU can offer to them. So those sessions have been amazing as well. That's really good. I mean, it's important that students have the inductions, and we all know whenever you've done university, many people who've been to university understands that the first few weeks can be a little bit intense in terms of the amount of information, isn't it? For some people it's a bit of an information overload, but it's really vital information. So you guys have been going around to doing all your inductions around the university, catching all the big freshers groups. Is that kind of what you've been doing? So what kind of things do you talk about then, Harsha, when you're doing these inductions and presentations?
During the induction time, like we spoke about that, how is the assurance, how SU is different from the university, and how SU will help in their academic year, and like what services we provide and how we help related to the academic issues and other things. So
it's quite a lot of important information. And I think, like you mentioned there, the difference between the SU and the university, we work in partnership with the university all the time, of course we do. But it is important that there is a discrepancy, isn't there? That there's a difference between the two things. And it's important that the students understand what that is and what we can offer them as well as an SU, but also the services that the university can kind of provide as well. How did you find it, Ebubechi? How was everything for you, doing the induction talks, meeting lots of students? How was that for you?
It was overwhelming.
Overwhelming?
I wouldn't lie, because at some point we got confused. Okay, where are you going to? I'm going to CL. I'm going to GO. Okay, where is this place? Where is this place? You know, we kept on running around.
Running around, sprinting out of breath. So if anybody see you darting, it's because you were trying to get from one place to the other.
Yeah, and then we just had something like 30 minutes. Running from this building to this next building, you know, and then when we get there, I said, "Please, I'm sorry. You first catch your breath, and before you start talking, and then
just give me a moment."
Oh my God! And then you just see more than 50 students waiting for you, like this, looking at you like this.
For me, one group is more than 100 people.
That's a big group to talk to.
And then you just watch them looking at you like this. Okay.
How are you guys with public speaking? Because that's a lot of people to talk to. You know what I mean? Obviously, you are our president, and therefore it's part of the expectation that you guys can do that. But you know, for some people that can be very daunting, especially younger people. It can be a lot to do. So how do you guys find that? Is there a lot of pressure when you've got all these eyes on you, or do you just kind of do the thing where some people say you look at a point at the back of the room. Some people like to meet the eyes of the people. What do you guys tend to find?
For me, I just turn my face to the board, like, okay, look at the board. This and the three.
Don't look at me. Look at the board.
I just say on the board you can see the 3 officers there. I'm the one on the pink. The one in the middle is Harsha. The other one is Blessing. So I just say, look at the board. Everything the board says this, like, so. Please don't look at me. Look at the board.
but it is vital information that you're giving out. So I guess it's good to direct them in that way. And of course, they can get all this information if they visit the SU website, can't they? They can find out all the stuff that you're actually doing. And if anybody had any questions, they can always come to you and talk to you as well, which I think is a really vital service. But it's good that you've been getting out. And I imagine that it's also good for you guys if you're doing all the inductions, because then the students get to know who you are. You know, it's not just about giving them the information about what services that are there and what we can do for them, but also so they can identify who the people people are the SU, so they know where they need to go and who they need to speak to. What are you guys what have you got up to for the next semester? What are your campaigns? What kind of things are you seeing already with the students? What's going on between now and Christmas? And I say that because it always seems like when I say it that it's quite a distance away, but we are in October now, and you know, we've only got a few months, and then it'll be December, and then before we know it, we'll be into semester 2. So that you know, the semester always seems very, very intense at the start. There's a lot going on. So what have you guys got planned for the next semester? What's kind of going on your radar? We'll start with you, Harsha, I think this time first.
Yeah, I'm doing this one academic misconduct awareness and awareness program. Like in the next couple of weeks, we're coming out of the students and speaking about these things, and we're also doing talk to TUSU things as well. And we are running breakfast club on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of every week. Yeah.
That's quite a lot of big things. I know that some of them are continuation. So the Talk to TUSU is quite an established thing, and it's got quite a good, good group of people that actually attend it. And is that for any students that want to come and have a conversation, or is it specific groups, or is it just like an open door policy? Is it open door?
Yeah, it's open door. Like we are going to the different buildings.
Yeah.
In the particular timings, like we will collect feedback from the students.
Yeah.
And we will take all the data and all the feedback, and we will get back to the students.
That's good, because I think one thing that's important, we always say that, students giving feedback, it's important that we can go back to them with either things that we've done, or to acknowledge the fact that they've highlighted some kind of issues, which I think is part of the role that you guys do, isn't it? It's finding issues or finding problems and helping to find a solution to that. And it is very much solution focused. So Talk to TUSU is really good, and that starts again in October, I imagine. It starts again this month, which is fantastic. And you mentioned the Breakfast Club. Now, the Breakfast Club, I know, has been a massive success, particularly last year. It's been a really important kind of success with things going on. The cost of living is still increasing. The world is expensive, and I think the Breakfast Club is a really good way to help students. So how do students get involved with that then? What kind of situation is that?
Ebubechi? The Breakfast Club is for students to pop in the morning, and have a breakfast, and also a time for them to talk with the officers. So it's just trying to have a chat, get to know your officers, and then get to tell them how you feel, or any recommendations or anything. So it's just a way to get to know your students. That's good. Also as an officer. Yeah.
It makes you very relatable to the students as well, doesn't it? You're not somebody who's positioned somewhere else where they can't speak to you. They can actually, have some breakfast with you and just sit and have a conversation, which I think makes you a real person. And that's important to students to know that they can have that connection with you. No, that sounds really good.
So still on the next semester, we have our different campaigns.
Okay.
You know that's coming up. Like Harsha said, he's already planning for the academic misconduct campaign. Also, I'm planning for the cultural exchange campaign, which is going to happen this month.
Okay.
And then see this month, so that is still the Black History Day. So we're just trying to make sure that we do something very exciting for the students. In the cultural event. So the first day we just want students to come to school with the cultural attire.
Okay.
And then we know that most students didn't come, into the country with the cultural wear, but at least a little thing that can say more about your country, or your culture. Just put it on and come to school. We're gonna have a face painting, trying to make everybody look so beautiful on the day. And then gonna be a lot of pictures, and videos for the SU website.
Great.
And then on the 23rd, we're gonna have like a town meeting.
Right.
The students and the management team.
Okay.
So we will have Professor Mark Simpson. He's going to be there as one of the guests.
That's fantastic.
And also, Blessing was able to put through an invite to Middlesbrough.
One of the local
local councillors.
Great.
So he's going to be there also. And also we have one of the hosts of Taste of Africa.
The founder.
The founder. So he's going to be there also. Okay. So it's for the students to be able to know more about the culture of Middlesbrough, where they come to study, and also about Teesside, and also able to ask questions and get a good response, And then on the 24th, that's the party.
Well, the others are the serious ones, all the information, and then 24th is party time.
So 24th is the party time. So 7 p.m. to late. So they're going to have a lot of group singing, solo singing, group dancing, solo dancing. We're going to have performing arts, virtual presentations, so many games. So it's just a time for the students to unwind, and then we'll go home. So in all of this, we're just trying to see how we can bring the students together.
Bring the different cultures together, and give them a chance to understand and learn from each other.
Yes, to learn from themselves, and also bring the home students together so they can understand, and like, this is what is happening in different cultures, a taste or a bit of what is happening in different countries, in different cultures, so you can get to understand and get to meet and ask questions from your fellow students so they can explain to you better.
Because I think it's never I think some people don't want to ask questions, do they? Because they feel that they might be either prying or they might be stepping over a boundary to ask about. But I think this gives people an opportunity for understanding and learning in a fun environment where they're getting information as well. So that's quite good. The guest speakers, when you've got Professor Simpson, the counsellors, and I think that's really good. It gives everybody a big opportunity. And Middlesbrough itself, if you look at some of the cultural events that Middlesbrough does as a town, it's a lot more multicultural than I think it ever has been. And that's very prevalent and shows itself throughout the town itself, so it's kind of bringing it all together, isn't it, to say this is where we are now, this is who we are, and the different things that we do. So that's really, really good. It sounds great. It sounds absolutely fantastic. Are you looking forward to it? Are you looking forward to a good time?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it so much. And again, I've had good support from the SU team.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they've been really great and supportive.
Excellent.
So at the end of this thing, we just try to improve on the inclusion, embrace diversity, embrace equality, and yes to respect. So
excellent.
That's it.
Ticks all the boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing that you did mention, Ebubechi, that I'm going to turn to Blessing about is it is Black History Month.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? What's the significance of it, what it means, and what students can get, how students can get involved with it as well, and what kind of things they can do?
So Black History Month is a month, set aside to celebrate, Black culture, Black history, and acknowledging where, how far we've come in the fight to, equality and things like that. So it's just, so this year I'm trying to focus it on, celebrating Black culture. So we're not just looking at, our Black heroes from past years ago, which is important to highlight them as well, but looking at our heroes in today's society as well.
Present day heroes. Yeah.
So due to that, I have organized a survey. So the plan is to get students to scan the survey, the QR code, and let us know who their Black heroes are. And once a week, we're going to display it on the screens across the university, the photo of who the Black hero is and why that person's a Black hero, just celebrating, Black History Month as well.
Wow, that sounds good. So say a student they have a particular person that they view for whatever reasons, can they kind of put that forward to you to kind of, as a suggestion for the hero that can then be voted on, or how is that kind of how you're looking at it? Or?
So at the moment, what we've done is we've had students just kind of send in the photo of whoever their Black heroes are, and there's been a couple of repetitions, so we obviously know we're going to pick that. I've had some students put their parents as well, so we're definitely going to put that as well because that's a personal touch. So it's kind of just, picking. So we're trying to do like 4 weeks, so hopefully we get through as much heroes as we can, through the course of the month.
By now, people should have had all their timetables and everything should kind of now be sorted, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Have you found any kind of instances where you guys are having to help students where things aren't quite right at the moment? Is there any particular areas that you've been looking at, or is it generally just helping people find their feet? Ebubechi?
Oh, yes. For now, we're just helping students find their feet, and but we are also taking it personal. Like if you have a personal thing, like I was met last week by 2 students who have this timetable issues. Like at the class, they were the only ones who had a different timetable.
Right.
They're returning students, so they had a different timetable from the rest of the class. So they just had class for just 1 day, and the others had class for 2 days. So I just told them, okay, the thing is you need to go back to your school, send a mail to your school, or you can take a walk to your school and meet the front desks, and then try to lay your complaint, then send a mail to your course leader, with an evidence of your timetable in the email, so they can take a look at it, to attach your student ID and your name in the email, so they can go through your Blackboard and see and make corrections,
And I think that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, so, because most times they really tend to be confused, like where do I go to, who do I meet? And when they actually don't really know that the first point of contact for this kind of thing is going back to the school. And the first person you should speak to is your course leader. So that's the first person who is your first point of contact before you come out to look for who else can help you.
Yes.
So, you know,
it's about understanding that, isn't it? That should always be your first point. You know, if you don't, if students don't know something, there is an element of accountability and the responsibility. Everybody studying is an adult. Everybody here, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying people don't need help, absolutely. But I think there are some little steps, aren't there? So the first one is, if it's something simple, speak to your course leader or your personal tutor. You know, these are both kind of options where they can guide you in the right direction. If that doesn't work, you can always contact the SU, you can contact other people. If things are going even further than that, I know you guys signpost into TUSU, which is one of the services the SU runs. So there's a lot of different avenues, and that's not including the support services that the university has as well. So there are different avenues, aren't there?
You know, because they were talking about going to student life. I thought that, no, that's too far. Yeah, you go first to your school. Yeah, one step at a time. It's your course leader first. Because if you go to student life, they will still send you back. So for you not to get signposted around, just go straight to your school first. Yeah. To your course leader and to your school before you're going out of your department. You know, and then I was happy to get a call from them today that they've arranged the timetable back and everything's falling back into place. So little things like this, for them, it's a lot because it gets them confused and not settled to start the semester. Yeah. So, and little things like this, different people are actually different on how they assimilate issues. So it can end up distorting their ability to focus properly. Yes. Yeah. It becomes too much, doesn't it? So it's about trying to nip that in the bud and control it first of all and put them on the right path, get them back where they need to be so that everything can right itself and they continue. And they're always going to be teething troubles at the start of the academic year, and that happens it happens across the entire UK. It happens everywhere, doesn't it? It's like when you first start a new job. You know, there are always something, you don't know what you're meant to be doing or you don't know how the system works. So there's always those teething troubles. But, you know, students are here to learn, they're here to study, and a lot of them can actually kind of work things out. But if they can't, there are plenty of services that can help them, aren't there? One thing we are going to talk about in this podcast, we've got some special guest stars. As you know, we like special guest stars. You mentioned Professor Simpson, he's one of our past guests, just letting everybody know that. But obviously we've also got Hazel and we've got Victoria Brown from the university. They're going to come on very shortly and have a conversation about some of the things that they do. Blessing, you're going to be staying with them to have that conversation. But before we get on to them, obviously students are now into the first term. You've mentioned if there are some issues. Is there anything that you would want to say to students at this point in the term? First thing is always go back to your course leader. Yeah, because they're the first point of contact for you. Yeah, so you don't get confused where you should go for the right signposting. Your course leader, your personal tutor is you're good to go. Yeah. As it's new student, as a returning student. These two people are you're good to go. Then embrace all opportunities, as many as you can while you're in school. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. Two great pieces of advice, sorry. Two great pieces of advice. Harsha, what's your piece of advice you want to give to people?
Keep checking yourself and update day by day.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, so kind of working on it as a day by day and just making sure you're okay, looking after yourself, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yes. Blessing.
If I were to give an advice to students, it would be to note that you are never alone. There is always help, but the first step is to ask for the help.
And I think that's really important. It kind of ties in a lot. So know yourself, but then also know where to go if you need that help. So there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And as you mentioned, your first point of contact can either be your course leader or your personal tutor. All of these are going to be able to, if they can't give you the answers, they should at least know where to signpost you to, and that's also important. You know, there are some things that they can't do, and we accept that. You know, there are answers to questions that they don't have, but they should be able to point you in the right direction. And if they don't, you can always come to the SU and we can kind of help focus that as well. So there is a lot of support out there for people. They're really good pieces of advice. Thanks very much for your time today, guys. We are going to bring on our special guests now. So at this point, I'm going to thank Ebubechi and Harsha for your time on this wonderful podcast, blogcast, vlogcast, whatever you want to call it. So here we are at one of my favourite parts of our podcast, and this is where we bring in our special guests. Isn't it wonderful? Blessing, isn't it wonderful?
Amazing.
So before we go in, so for people who don't know you, and I know that many people will do because you're around campus all the time, I said it in a good way. Look at the worry on your face just then. Would you both like to introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do at the university.
My name is Vic Brown, my pronouns are she, her, and my role is Lifestyle Student Advisor as part of the CCI team along with Hazel.
Okay.
So basically my role is supporting students in improving aspects of their lifestyle, mainly around sleep, nutrition and exercise.
Wow.
And then on top of that, I teach exercise classes in the gym. So I do get seen around the campus quite a lot.
See, I was right. You do
Yeah,
get
you
seen around campus a
do.
lot.
I do. Usually running between Olympia and SLB, or sometimes the SU as well. And then I also part of the Period Dignity campaign.
Right.
So we brought that in to play in the university, and
Can I explain that a little bit before we move on? Just having
yeah, of course, yeah. So the Period Dignity campaign is basically the free period products in the toilets as majority of the campaign. We pushed for it because we wanted to end period poverty within Teesside University and branch out eventually into the community. So we do that through MEMA.
Wow.
So we have them in the toilets there. And we also do promotions around sort of more sustainable period care. So we've done cup giveaways and we've done studies to show how beneficial the cups are as well. So we did it with some of our health students. So the ones that are usually sort of on placement in the School of Health, because we wanted to give the students who aren't always on campus the same sort of
some kind of treatment, is it?
Yeah, exactly. The amenities, because they miss out by not being on campus.
Because they're on placement,
yeah, exactly.
Is that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And obviously it's really important to support our NHS as well.
Yeah.
So we thought there would be a great way to kind of test out if the cups would work and make people feel better when they're on the periods. And it went really well. So the School of Health were so pleased with the results of that test that they actually got a bigger budget to get some more cups and do a bigger study with a bigger cohort of them students. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
That's really good. And is that taking place at the moment, or is that?
Yeah, it's actually just started now again. So if any NHS students would like to get involved, there are still some cups available. So Helen Tidy is the person to get in touch with.
Fantastic.
For that.
I
love that little bit of plug.
Doesn't it make us feel like we're official? You know, when you're doing product placement.
But it's free. It's not even costly.
Absolutely.
And then I'm also the chair of the LGBTQ plus staff focus group.
Right.
So that's another reason why people see me around. I'm usually.
She's always been filmed.
Always been filmed. See, I feel like we're cheaper now. That's it. I feel like.
This is my first time doing this kind of thing.
See, that's the right thing. That's good. We're special again.
Yeah, exactly.
I just like to stay in the background.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this is the point where you need to introduce yourself and tell us what you do as well, please, Hazel.
All right. I am Hazel Wright. I'm the Wellbeing Coordinator here at Teesside. I've actually worked here for 19 years. This is where you're supposed to say, really, you only look 25.
I was going to say, obviously, did you start here when you were in primary school or something like that?
Did.
Were you one of those?
So I've been here for a very long time, but my role, I guess, has changed quite a bit over the years, but in the main, it's focused on, supporting students with their health and well-being in a variety of ways, everything from ensuring that they've got access to the services that are either available on campus or externally as well, so in the local area. And over the years, that's really broadened to kind of really looking at a much broader kind of base of services, because obviously we've got more students with families coming over and that kind of thing, so it's looking at family health and well-being, not just sort of individuals and students who are here for a few years. So running health campaigns, so like with the Period Dignity, that's just one really big massive campaign, but we do some smaller ones as well. Okay. Some of them mark national events that are already happening, such as like National No Smoking Day, breast cancer awareness, that sort of thing. So we've done stacks and stacks. We've worked with the Student Union loads and loads over the years. I always work with the SU presidents and the welfare or well-being. I can't remember what they used to call them years ago. Just officers are not presidents.
Yeah.
So it's changed quite a lot over the years. And I also teach classes in the gym. So again, lots of people do know me from working in the gym as well and teaching those classes.
So is that separate to you, like full-time doing your job thing?
Yeah.
It's a separate entity that you like to do for fun?
Yeah. Well, to get paid.
I've heard that people do things like that in gyms, that they do it for fun.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it, though, because obviously this is a lot about, you've talked about healthy living and about the things that you do. Now, the demographic of the university has changed significantly over the years, like you said. Mm-hmm. So how's you mentioned your roles changed slightly. How have your roles changed in kind of combating that or dealing with it or looking at it from different angles? Has that been a thing? Has it been a challenge, or have you kind of just eased into it and gone with the flow a little bit?
I would say we've just responded to it, really. And I think, obviously, the student and library services now is a big department. That's what we're part of. So our team that we're on now, the CCI means Communities, Culture and International.
Right.
So when I first started, I was in the sport team, and we were called Sport and Recreation. So, you know, I'm going back to like something that sounds like the 80s.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the British Empire is what we always used to joke about. If anybody can actually remember that's watching, probably
Great
not.
Programme,
Making definitely show my age now.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm right with you.
You know, we used to. So my job was actually more focused on managing the gym and the fitness staff and running classes and managing all that side of things. And there was just a really small kind of element of having a wellbeing service of some sort. And we used to have some therapists used to come in and do like complementary therapies, and this is before the days of, you know, what it's like now. And then wellbeing itself has just, as I'm sure you know, it's just blossomed massively. Yeah. And it's you know, part of it, and as it should be, it's part of everyone's business. You know, really, it's really important. But I've also got so while I've been here, I've done a public health master's degree. Right. So I kind of, sometimes if someone asks me what I do, I sometimes say I'm a bit like a public health officer, but within a university setting. Mm-hmm. So I'll have a responsibility for all areas of health and wellbeing, not just a specific one or two like a public health officer would have in a council, for example.
You kind of know what's going on in the different areas and keeping your fingers in pies, as it were.
That's it, massively. So networking and partnership working is a big part of my job, which is great because I love all that stuff.
And you're so good at it as well.
You are?
You're so good at it.
Oh, thank you very much. I told her to say that.
Is that what you are?
Yeah, I'm buying her a coffee afterwards.
I bet.
So yeah, it's changed in that respect, in that the wellbeing side of it, I mean, obviously we keep in touch with, you know, national kind of patterns and things that change and all that sort of thing. And if we didn't, I don't think it would be responding, you know, appropriately and in a way that is, you know, supportive of the audience that we've got, really.
Well, Vic, you talked a bit about sleeping and eating.
Yes.
I said that very loosely because that was the bit I picked up on. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
So with the lifestyle service, I mean, like obviously what Hazel was saying there about health, and obviously what you touched on as well, how the demographics have massively changed. So when I first started this role several years ago, it was just a case of, you know, giving people a little bit of exercise support. But as the university students have been going through, it's changed much more towards like sleep and nutrition are the biggest sort of areas that most students struggle with. And last year we got inundated with students needing support in these areas, but we just couldn't sort of get them to kind of come in for the one-to-ones just because they were struggling to manage their times with obviously lectures and seminars and everything else they've got going on. So we're now starting to do drop-in sessions to see if we can, you know, make it a bit more relaxed and a bit less commitment wise. They can just kind of show up to them. A bit less formal, so that if their sleeping patterns, obviously if they've got issues with the sleeping and the eating, and obviously, I mean, we've always found people in the SU when, you know, if your sleeping pattern's out, you end up napping at different times of the day, you can miss certain chunks, you end up doing all that. So that makes it a little bit easier for them to kind of not to have that panic about setting something. They can just attend, and then when they get the chance to see you, is that the kind of area you're looking at? Yeah, 100%. And it feeds into like the advice that we give the students as well, because, you know, when it comes to nutrition, it's just really important that they eat and stay hydrated. So, you know, whatever that is better than nothing. So we kind of like go along that advice. And then obviously, as we get more energy into their bodies, then we start advising more around healthy choices. But that comes much later on, because it's just really, really important they just fuel themselves properly. And then the same with sleep, you know, taking the stigma and the stress away from not being able to sleep, because one of the biggest stresses of not being able to sleep is not being able to sleep. So the more pressure you put on yourself to go to bed and get up at a certain time, it just makes it so much harder. There's nothing worse, is it? Yeah, you know, exactly. When you have that moment where you sat there going, I must go to sleep, you can't.
Yeah, you don't do that.
And then the hour will pass, and then you're aware of the time starting to, and it can induce, even for people, you know, that have problems or are dealing with them, it can still induce that kind of anxiety, can't it?
100%.
You know, there's nothing worse. And then you have the worst thing where you finally get to sleep and you realise that you overslept, and then your alarm goes off or it doesn't go off.
And there's so much information out there now on all of this stuff. It's mind-boggling, and people are looking for answers all over the place, and they're practicing whatever information they find, and sometimes it's just not effective. So we try to keep it manageable, try to keep it accessible, practical, and it's also based on the sort of the lifestyle services, based on the idea that, you know, those sort of three things, movement, food and sleep, are like your foundational aspects to your lifestyle. If you get that kind of, you know, okay,
If you get the
everything
three
else is going to
together.
have a knock-on effect. So
Yeah.
things like when it gets to your mental health and well-being, then you're going to be, you know, able to kind of be more supported in that area.
So they're kind of like the foundations from which you need to build upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've got any of those
definitely.
missing, it's not going to hold up the rest of the house or the
Yeah,
body
like
or
a
whatever. you want
pyramid.
to call it. Yeah.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it's the first thing that sort of people sacrifice as well. You know yourself that if you've got something stressful happen in your life, the first thing you'll do is put off going to the gym, or you'll not plan your meals out as well because you'll just grab whatever's on the go. So then you're not getting the right things for you. And then obviously it just makes whatever you're dealing with a lot harder and just
Yes.
puts more pressure, and it just kind of like sends you spiraling rather than kind of helps to relieve it.
Do you find that a lot of people, like, are they avoiding food because of their busyness, or because part of it's a cost of living thing, or is there a mixture of the two? What do you tend to find?
Definitely a mixture.
Yeah.
I'd say that stress and anxiety plays a huge part in it, and you know there's lots of different reasons, and obviously nutrition is quite complex in general, because everyone has how their relationship starts with food from day one obviously massively affects how they eat when they get older. So you've got those aspects, and then obviously on top of that, just lifestyle in general is just so busy. We put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve so much on a daily basis that we'll put off things, and they're usually the things that are essential. So most people put off having lunch or coming away from their desks and things like that. So it's not just students, it's staff as well.
I think that's a good point, isn't it? It's people
Yeah.
that are working as well that tend to skip, I'll just skip lunch while I continue doing this.
And research has shown that it's actually much more productive for people to take regular rests and regular breaks and make sure they fuel the body properly and come away from the screens than it is for people who sit there for hours on end trying to get more done. Because they're more likely to make more mistakes, they're going to move a lot slower, whereas somebody who takes that time out for themselves, like if they attend a lunchtime class or they go for a bit of a walk and get a bit of fresh air, like you were saying earlier, that they're more likely to have a better day because they've broken that sort of mundane task up and they've made it sort of separated the morning to the afternoon. It just makes everything go faster and makes you feel better.
Kind of
There's a thing called presenteeism, and it's to do with productivity, and it's about you can be at work all day, but not be very productive, not get much
You're just
done.
not present. You're there in body, but you're not functioning the way that you need to or the way that you should do.
Yeah. And I must say, from a student point of view, what their team does is amazing, because I've been signposted to the team as well. And those conversations you have, you don't tend to realize that you're putting certain things off until you have those conversations.
Yeah.
And it's always in a very informal setting as well. So, you feel relaxed and you feel able to, chat and feel free, you're in a safe space. And I love the way Vic approaches it as well. So it's very much, it just comes natural. You don't realize you're saying all these things and you're opening up and you start to highlight, okay, this is an issue, that's an issue, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed. So,
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
A secret psychologist,
nice.
I like it.
Well, there is actually, theory behind it. It's about behaviour change.
Yeah.
And motivational interviewing, using actual science.
Actual
we kind of know what we're talking about. I hope anyway.
We have like a secret tool bag of techniques that we use to get people to open up.
Well, you know what? Whatever you need to do to get people to open up so you can help them, I think is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And I think it is important. If a student wanted to get in touch, then do you do it on one-to-one basis, or do you have? How? Say a student was experiencing some difficulties, what's the best way that they would be able to combat that? And I don't mean the answers, I mean to speak to you guys, to get that support. How would they want to do that?
We have an email address that they can contact, so it's studentwellbeing@tees.ac.uk, so they can drop an email to that inbox. Great. And then we can pick it up. And if they just sort of point out which area, which aspect of it is, then we can direct them to what would be best. So we can start them with the drop-in sessions, or maybe it's attending some of Hazel's mindful movement classes, because they're completely free and they're in the library, so they're nice and accessible to all the students. And then if they still want further one-to-one support, then they can speak to us at the sessions, and then we can obviously put them on the lifestyle service.
So there's lots of different ways that they can get that support.
Yeah, definitely.
To what degree would depend on where they think they are and where you think they are. So
yeah,
it's kind of working collaboratively to ensure that they're getting the support that they need to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like all the work we do is very much student collaborative. It's about, obviously like Blessing just touched on it there, each person that comes to us is very much individual based, and it's getting the students to know that we're not experts. Like we know our stuff. Like when it comes to nutrition, sleep, and exercise, it's all we've done all our lives, our adult lives. It's the only thing we know. But the person is a person, and like that what they bring is so much more than what we bring, because they're the experts on them. So all we do is advise based on what they tell us and what information they give us, and knowing what's best for them is really important, because nobody wants to be dictated to, nobody wants to be told they're wrong, and at the end of the day they can't be wrong when it comes to themselves. So
there's two phrases I really like that I've come across. There's one when I was doing my master's degree was about control of your own destiny is a determinant of health. And the fact that you need to have control over your life, or
you have
everything,
to have control, don't you? Yeah, you need to take that control.
Means that you can be a healthy person. But there's also Dr. Chatterjee. He's a lifestyle GP, and he talks about being the architect of your own health. So it's about empowerment, really. It's about you actually having control over, and you, like Vic says, you being the expert of yourself.
So it's understanding yourself, what you need, and it's that accountability, that being the person who controls that, which is it's quite important, isn't it? It's giving the power back to somebody as well, because if they're coming with problems and you said, this is the kind of advice we can give you, but it resides with you, it has to be found within yourself to be able to do this with our kind of coaching. I think that's quite good, because that's obviously going to help students with their confidence and things. Once they understand that element, I imagine that's a really massive benefit to them going forward.
It's long term, isn't it? It's a long term, it's something that you can take away from, and that's what we try to do. We don't just want to fix people. It's about giving people the knowledge that they need to actually be able to take that into their lives long term. And so, I remember, because I used to do Lighten Your Load. It was called Lighten Your Load. That was what it used to be called years ago, before it was the lifestyle services, when it was based with the counselling service, and that was part of my job when I was in the sport team. And I remember a couple of students came back to me years later, because they were just bumped into a couple for some reason on campus, and they'd gone through that process, and they actually said to me how much difference it's made to them. So you don't always realise in the short term how much difference it's made to you until a little bit longer term. So we like to think we're teaching people things that is gonna help them for longer into their
and if they can take it and use that for the rest of their lives, that's obviously a massive win for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't always get to find out, but it's good to know. It's good to know when you do find out. But like wider than the lifestyle service, I'm also looking at have you heard of social prescribing?
Explain if you will.
So basically, the idea of social prescribing is signposting people and getting people involved in sort of more social activities to help them sort of feel that sense of belonging and get involved in the community, but it can also improve physical and mental well-being. So social prescribers in the NHS are based with a GP practice, and a GP might refer a patient to a social prescriber, who then refers somebody to, I don't know, for example, a gardening project.
Right, yes. In
the local area. And there was one story I read about a lady, I think she had something like ME or something like that, or MS, and she was not getting out much. This is not a student, but this is something local, and she was very isolated, and that was affecting her mental health. Her condition wasn't getting any better. It was causing her problems, because it did have the potential to improve. And once she started attending this allotment project, she met new people. She got more physically active because she was getting involved in the gardening, and that improved her condition. So that's the example I use when I talk about what social prescribing can do. So that's why I work with a lot of external organisations, because we can't do everything here on campus.
Yes, of course.
But there is so much out there. So there's like the Middlesbrough Environment City, the local authority do lots of stuff. There's Sustrands that do cycling and walking projects. So it's about just signposting students too, but coming into the service, and then us being able to kind of triage them almost, and then make sure that they're signposted somewhere, or even supported by us maybe going along with them. We've done that before, haven't we?
Yeah.
We'll go along for a first session, say for the climbing wall, for example, if they're a little bit nervous, or they're not sure about going, or they just need that little bit of a nudge. Yeah. Just going along with them and then introducing them to somebody, and then that support network then just grows and grows and grows, and that makes such a massive difference to people. It really
life-changing,
does. Yeah, I think for some, yeah. That's what makes me get out of bed, basically, because I feel like I can make a difference to people.
You're obviously both very passionate about the areas that you that you do to do it in your spare time when you're teaching classes. What else do you get up to in your spare time? Because we've talked about, or is that
Haven't got any.
it? Is it just literally, I go up there, I teach classes and I work?
We both run.
Yeah,
Do
we
you
do
both
running.
go
Like running.
I've got 4 children
She's
at home.
faster than me. She's got 4. I've got a cat.
Yeah,
It's like having 4 children.
my son runs as well, so we tend to go out running together. So like Saturdays, I run with him and take 2 of my daughters to the gym,
Right.
and then my youngest, if she's not playing football, we usually go ice skating or something like that. So like
Very active
literally
lifestyle.
physically active.
Yeah, I like when I get time. I'm a big fan of the outdoors, so I love going out on my bike,
Yeah.
either road cycling or mountain biking, road running or trail running. I do rock climbing as well. So obviously we've got a climbing wall here, which is a really great sort of facility to have. Just getting outdoors, and we've got a project we're running this year called Adventure for Wellbeing.
Okay.
And we're going to be hopefully offering students opportunities to get out and about, but also just to come and find out about. So we're going to do like a drop-in, and we're going to work with organisations like Sustrans that I just mentioned, but also Callum, our outdoor activities officer from sport, to start running some walks and climbing sessions in the climbing wall and that kind of thing, for people to take part in, to kind of hopefully start to feel the benefits of those activities. A lot of what I do is based on something called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, and that's evidence-based. It's a big experiment to survey really that's been going on for years and years, and they're just, every time someone fills it in, it just feeds into it. The 5, there's actually more than 5 obviously, but it's a bit like the 5 a day, you know, your fruit and veg.
Yeah.
They've created a campaign out of 5 things. Don't ask me to say them all because I always forget one of them at least. But connection, as you've just said there, is one of them, and that's connecting with either with nature, with other people, or even just connecting with yourself, and you know, and getting to know yourself and doing self-development stuff and all that kind of thing. So that's one of the kind of the little mantras that I use to kind of organise what I do, and it's a nice thing to kind of hang a campaign on, for example, because I mean, one of them's be active, obviously. One of them's about learning more. Well, the students are here on doing a degree, but it's about learning something different or trying something new.
That's how we link
And
all the
there's one around mindfulness as well, which is I think the word that uses take notice, and I'm starting to train in mindfulness, so it's very, very kind of important skill, I feel, because it's something which can be really, really beneficial and really, really useful, especially in the moment type stuff. So we do a bit of breath work as well.
Is that like taking
in
a moment
classes.
just to,
you
know,
sort of center yourself and just
again,
ground yourself and just bring yourself back into the present instead of worrying about the past or the present. And it's so simple, you can literally do it with a few breaths, but there is a lot more to mindfulness than that, but that is in its simplest form. So I do a bit of that in my classes, but I've started to do it in mindful movement. So mindful movement is just 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. You can do it in whatever clothes you wear and you don't have to get changed, and students and staff can just come along. There's a mat down for them in the space we're using the library and hopefully the lounge space in the SLB in this sort of academic year, and it's just a nice, easy, gentle movement session with some breath work and some time out. So like Vic was saying about taking a break, you know, it frustrates me how much people don't take breaks nowadays. We're busy, but everyone is just so busy
all the time,
and they're not giving themselves that little bit of time.
People need to be kind to themselves a little bit, don't they?
Absolutely, that is spot on. Absolutely.
We even use your sessions when we do Pride, don't we, as well?
Yeah.
So with the Pride events that we now do at the uni, we've done them like the last 2 years, and we turn the Wellbeing Prides, and they've now gone to like intersectional as well, so make everybody feel included, and make everybody feel seen for all their different, you know, components of who they are as a person. And we always start the sessions with some wellbeing exercise from Hazel now. You're the sort of frontier of that now, aren't you? Got no excuse.
Busy?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do love what we do.
Finally then, before you go, if you could give one quick tip to anybody that's listening, just a one piece of advice, what would it be?
The thing I always say to people is don't be afraid to ask for help. If you need it, if you just want some advice, it's you know, just, yeah, and like you said, be kind to yourself, and that is being kind to yourself.
That's what I was gonna
Sorry,
say.
I've got two. And the easiest way of doing that is by emailing Student Life, because that is the central
Yeah,
point
hub for
of kind of hub for all inquiries, which has got anything to do with Student Life, and whatever your query is, it'll reach the person that it needs to get to.
I mean, be kind to yourself, because a lot of people just worry so much about how everyone else around them, and we're more likely to invest ourselves into other people than we are into ourselves. So what I would tell students listening is, don't be frightened to be a little bit selfish and take time out for yourself, because if you're not your best you can't be good for anyone else either. So
I like that. If you're not your best you can't be good for anyone else. That's fantastic. Lovely, that's a great piece of advice. Hopefully that's helped some students out there. They now know how they can get in touch with you. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you both for coming on to our vlogcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it.
Thank you for having us.
thank you.
Anytime at all. And I know people will see you around campus. I'm sure you'll be inundated with things now. But you're busy enough already, but that's great.
Always got time for
You've got time.
for
Always got
conversation.
time. Always got time.
Yeah, always got time for
So if anybody does want to get hold of anybody to do with wellbeing, you can always email, as it's been said, studentlife@tees.ac.uk. We'll be back next time on the TUSU podcast. Thanks very much, guys.